Reach into your pocket and find a coin. Any coin will do. Feel the cold metal against your skin. Look at the face stamped onto it. Maybe it is a president, a queen, or a bird. To you, this is just a way to buy a candy bar or a soda. It is a tool of convenience. It is the smallest unit of capitalism. But if that coin could speak, it would not tell you a story about commerce. It would not tell you a story about a shopkeeper and a customer. It would tell you a story about blood. It would tell you about screaming men, burning cities, and the cold, hard logic of state-sponsored murder. If I told you that the coins in your pocket were originally invented not to buy bread, but to hire professional killers, would you still think of them as innocent? Welcome to the dark side of history. Today, we are going to tear up the textbooks and look at the violent origins of cash. We have been taught that money evolved from a peaceful village exchange. We have been told it was a solution to the inconvenience of bartering potatoes for shoes. But that story is a fairy tale. It is a lie designed to make us feel better about the system we live in. The reality is far more suspenseful and far more terrifying. The real history of cash is the history of the military-coinage-slavery complex. Let us travel back to the year 600 BC. This is a pivotal moment in human history. Historians call it the Axial Age. Something strange was happening. Almost simultaneously, in 3 different parts of the world, coins appeared. It happened in the kingdoms of ancient Greece, in the river valleys of India, and in the warring states of China. Why then? Why all at once? Was there a sudden global urge to buy things more efficiently? The world changed, because warfare changed. Before this time, wars were mostly fought by noblemen on chariots or by local militias. When the fighting was done, you went back to your farm. But around 600 BC, the scale of violence exploded. Kings and emperors began to raise massive professional standing armies. We are talking about tens of thousands of men whose only job was to kill and conquer. And this created a massive logistical nightmare. How do you pay 50,000 men who are hundreds of miles away from home? You cannot pay them with credit. If a soldier walks into a foreign village and says, "Put this beer on my tab," the farmer will laugh. The farmer knows the soldier will be gone by morning or he will be dead in a ditch. There is zero trust. You also cannot pay them with cows or grain. An army cannot march across a desert while dragging 10,000 terrified cows behind them. It is too slow. It is too messy. And you certainly cannot pay them with a promise from the king. Soldiers are cynical men. They want something they can hold. They want something that is valuable everywhere. Something that is small, portable, and impossible to track. They want to bear a bond for violence. Enter the coin. The first coins were not made for merchants. They were made for mercenaries. In places like Lydia, in what is now modern Turkey, the kings began to take lumps of silver and gold, weigh them out, and stamp them with a royal seal. This seal was not a mark of art. It was a guarantee of value backed by the threat of death. The coin was a piece of the king's power that you could carry in your hand. Now, this is where it gets really dark. Let us look at the most famous conqueror of all, Alexander the Great. Alexander did not just win battles with genius tactics. He won battles with a giant, hungry machine. Historians have calculated that Alexander's army needed about half a ton of silver coins every single day just to keep moving. Think about that. Every 24 hours, a mountain of silver had to be produced and distributed. Where did all that silver come from? And where did the coins go? This brings us to the military-coinage-slavery complex. It is a perfect, evil circle. Step 1. The king borrows money from wealthy backers to hire an army of mercenaries. Step 2. He gives those mercenaries coins to buy food and supplies. Step 3. The army conquers a new city. They do not just take the land, they take the people. They grab thousands of men, women, and children and turn them into slaves. Step 4. Those slaves are sent into the mines. The silver and gold mines of the ancient world were living hells. Thousands of people were worked to death underground to extract the metal. Step 5. That metal is brought to the king's mint and turned into coins. Step 6. Those coins are used to pay the soldiers so they can go conquer the next city and get more slaves. It was a perpetual motion machine of human suffering. The coins were the fuel. Without the coins, the soldiers would desert. Without the soldiers, the mines would stop. Without the mines, the coins would run out. The economy was not a separate thing from the war. The economy was the war. But you might ask, if the soldiers were the only ones getting the coins, why did everyone else start using them? This is the most brilliant and sinister part of the plan. The kings needed a way to make sure their soldiers could actually use those coins to buy food from local farmers. They could have just ordered the soldiers to rob the farmers, but that leads to scorched earth and no more food for next year. So, the kings used a much more efficient weapon: taxes. The king would declare that every farmer in the territory had to pay a tax of, let us say, 5 silver coins per year. If you did not pay, the soldiers would come and burn your house down or take you as a slave. Suddenly, the farmer has a massive problem. He has plenty of grain, he has plenty of goats, but he has 0 silver coins. How does he get them? There's only one way. He has to take his grain and his goats to a central location and sell them to the only people who have the coins, the soldiers. And just like that, the market was born. The market was not a natural place where villagers came together to trade. It was a tax, trap created by the state to feed the army. The government created the demand for money by threatening people with violence, and then it supplied the money by paying its killers. Every time you see a marketplace in an ancient history movie, you are not looking at the birth of free trade. You are looking at the logistics of a war machine. This is why coins are always found in the wake of empires. Where the Roman legions marched, the coins followed. Where the Mauryan Empire in India expanded, the coins followed. It was a system designed for people who did not trust each other. Credit is for friends and neighbors. Cash is for strangers and enemies. Cash is anonymous. It does not care who you are or where you came from. It only cares that you have the metal. This made it the perfect tool for an age of massive, impersonal violence. If you lived in a village and you knew your neighbor, you didn't need a coin to buy a loaf of bread. You just remembered that you owed him a favor. But if you are a soldier in a foreign land and you want a loaf of bread from a farmer whose language you don't speak, you need a coin. And that farmer only takes the coin because he knows the tax collector is coming for him later that month. Let us be honest for a second. This is a bit funny in a dark way, right? We think of ourselves as so advanced because we use cash. We think of ancient people bartering as primitive. But the ancient people who didn't use cash were actually the ones who had more advanced social skills. They lived in a world of complex, long-term trust. We live in a world where we need a piece of metal or a digital number to prove we are allowed to eat, because we have lost that trust. Cash is a technology for a society of strangers who are afraid of each other. And what about the coins themselves? Have you ever noticed how ancient coins almost always have the head of a ruler on them? That is not just ego. It is a mark of ownership. The king is saying, "This metal belongs to me. I am just letting you use it to pay your taxes. If you try to make your own version, I will kill you. If you try to clip the edges off, I will kill you." The value of the coin did not come from the silver itself. It came from the fact that the king was the only one with enough soldiers to decide what was valuable. Eventually, this system became so successful that we forgot where it came from. We started to think that markets were natural and that governments were just there to protect them. But history shows the opposite. The state and the market were born as twins, joined at the hip by a sword. Think about the way Alexander the Great died. He died at 32 years old, having conquered most of the known world. His empire fell apart almost immediately. But do you know what didn't fall apart? The coinage. His generals divided up the empire, and they all kept minting coins with Alexander's face on them. They knew that the face of the dead king was the only thing that would keep the mercenaries fighting. The gold was the only ghost that mattered. As the centuries went on, the link between war and cash remained rock solid. Whenever a great empire collapsed, the coins disappeared. People went back to credit. They went back to tally sticks and village ledgers. They went back to trusting their neighbors. Why? Because the soldiers were gone. The tax collectors were gone. There was no one left to force you to use a piece of metal to buy your dinner. Cash only returns when the big armies return. So look at that coin in your hand again. It is a remarkable piece of engineering. It is beautiful, it is durable, and it is efficient. But it is also a relic of an age of iron and blood. It is a reminder that our modern economy was not built on a foundation of peaceful trade. It was built on a foundation of conquest and debt. The next time someone tells you that the free market is the natural state of humanity, ask them about the soldiers. Ask them about the silver mines. Ask them about the farmers who were forced to sell their crops at spear point just to pay a tax and a currency they didn't want. The invisible hand of the market looks a lot different when you realize it was wearing a gauntlet. We like to think that we have moved past this. We have digital banking now. We have apps and credit cards. We don't use silver shekels or gold statters anymore. But the principle is still the same. The value of our money is still backed by the power of the state. The reason you can pay for your coffee with a piece of paper or a tap of your phone is because the government still demands that you pay your taxes in that same currency. and the government still has the biggest army on the block to make sure you do. The mystery of cash is not about where it came from. The mystery is why we are so attached to a system that was designed to facilitate death. Maybe it is because cash is easy. Maybe it is because we like the anonymity, or maybe it is because we have become so used to living as strangers that we can no longer imagine a world built on trust. The violent origins of cash are a ghost that haunts every transaction we make. Every time you spend $1, you are using a tool that was forged in the fires of ancient war. It is a dark, suspenseful, and deeply human story. It is a story of how we turned our fear of each other into a global financial system. So, keep your coins. Use them to buy your bread and your beer, but never forget that they were originally meant for the mercenary at the gate. The history of money is not a boring spreadsheet. It is an epic poem written in blood and silver, and you are holding a piece of it right now. If you enjoyed this journey into the bloody roots of your wallet, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are going to keep peeling back the layers of history to find the truth that the textbooks are hiding, because the world is much weirder and much more dangerous than they ever told you in school. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and try not to think too hard about the blood on your silver the next time you get some change back. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.